Hello, my name is Jennifer. I was born 258 miles away in Northumberland. My dad was an engineer in the Merchant Navy and he was in East Africa when I was born. He was away quite a lot of the time, and after a few years my mum became depressed and they decided that he needed to come ashore in order for the family to thrive. The trouble was, in the northeast there wasn't a lot of work for engineers on shore, and so they decided to leave the family home and we moved to Lincoln. From there we moved to Nottingham. But they always called Northumberland home. Every single holiday we went home. We travelled 7.5 hours, 2 adults, 2 children, a very large dog in a little Mini. And this was before the M1 was finished. So it was a really long journey there and back, but it was going home. So the culture I most closely identify with is Geordie, and the place that I feel most at home, even though we've lived here a long time, is probably on a wild, windswept beach or on an open hillside. When I was 18, I went to London, where I met Alan. From there, I went to Cumbria, and from there my first job was in Northamptonshire. Alan and I got engaged. We tried to live in Northampton, we tried to live in Leighton Buzzard, we even tried Dunstable, and every single time we tried to buy a house it fell through. In this time we got established at St Hugh's and a house group adopted us, and the only thing we really knew was that we belonged in St Hugh's. And so I left my job. We got married, and a week after our honeymoon, our house group leader had a dream about how God gave him a house that he could give to us. And to cut a long story short, he met a man who knew a man who was selling a house, and we bought it. And so that's how we came to St Hugh's. I had moved quite a lot of times, and I kind of expected that after 2 or 3 years it would be time for us to go. But we are still here 38 years later, and God has made it very clear to us many times that this is where he wants us to stay. This is now our home. I grew up in a Christian home. My grandfather was a minister, but by the time I was old enough to make a choice for myself, we were in a liberal Methodist church. And there came a day when I was 14 when a girl that I really hadn't liked for many years invited me to go to her Bible study leader's house for tea. It was great fun, and the penalty for doing that was that we went to Youth for Christ in the evening. It was there that they told me why Jesus died for me, and I was really angry that no one had told me yet. And after a few months, I gave my life to Jesus. Not long after that, he gave me a picture of his hand in the universe. It was absolutely enormous, and the universe was just endless and dark, but it was beautiful and dark, and I was sat in the middle of his hand. I could never get to the edge of his hand. Even if I let go, the furthest I could fall would be down a wrinkle in his skin, and then I would be completely surrounded by him. I was safe. But by the time I was 20, I'd become depressed, and I thought that life wasn't worth living. So a dear friend of mine brought another friend, and they prayed for me. And in that moment, in my head, God met me as a little girl when I felt lost and alone and in despair. And he healed my heart in a way that I had never even known he could do. The next day I woke up, and it was like my world had changed from black and white to colour, and I had to learn to live again. The transformation was absolutely amazing. And he has continued to heal and restore me ever since. And I think that's what has marked my life, that he has healed me and restored me in so many different ways that I am always lost in wonder and love for what he has done for me. And the latest discovery is that he is taking me deeper in understanding what it means for him to be my father.